Hi, I am Robin. Welcome to day 17 of Disney Plus movie reviews. Today I am talking about a movie called The Bears and I. This movie came out in 1974. It is rated G. So, full disclosure, I did not exactly expect to love this movie. I did love it. Spoiler-free summary. There's a guy who was in the war. He goes to where some Indians live because he made a friend in the war whose dad was the Indian chief. And his friend had told him it was a great place for them to go refresh, reconnect to the world after they got out of the war. But his friend died in the war, so he went by himself to give the chief his friend's possessions. And then he stays there for a while. He interacts with some nature. He sees some bears. He has some bears. And there's some stuff about national parks. Spoiler-free summary. Also, fun facts. So if you haven't seen it, wait and listen to the fun facts. The main character in this movie is named Bob Leslie. Bob Leslie is played by an actor named Patrick Wayne. He is the son of John Wayne. He's John Wayne's second son of 4 kids with his first wife. Patrick Wayne also has 4 kids, according to the internet. So Patrick Wayne right now is 80 years old. His birthday is July 15th, 1939. Apparently, Wayne was not John Wayne's real last name. The internet said that Wayne was his stage name. So that was cool, but all of his kids also have that name. He seemed pretty committed to it. Patrick Wayne, the star, made over 40 films, including 11 with his dad. His last 1997. He was also on some TV shows, less appearance in those, 1997. So, man did a lot in his life, and he's still alive. So, one more fun fact. The guy who played the Indian chief is actually a chief in real life. Different name in real life and the character, but he is a chief, so that was pretty cool. This is the end of spoiler-free fun facts. Now I'm going to talk about the movie some more. Cool? Cool. Okay. So the main guy, Bob Leslie, he rents a cabin from this guy named Oliver Redfern, who is pretty nice. He owns the store. He rents Bob Leslie a cabin for the season, but then Bob Leslie keeps staying there. So he's there. He comes in it looks like the summer, and then he's there through the winter. So while he's there in the summer, there's a character whose name I don't remember because I didn't like him. Because he's very clearly not nice, who shoots a mother bear. And so Bob Leslie adopts her 3 cubs. So these Indians are the people of the bear. They believe that the bear is their brother, and you should leave the bear alone. It is better for the bear to die than to be captured. So when Bob Leslie has these bears, at one point he takes them with him across the lake to the store, and people see that he has bears on a leash, and he put them on a leash so that they would be safe and wouldn't get into stuff in the town. But the Indians see it as him controlling something he should not be controlling. Not ideal for him. So the Indian chief wants him to let the bears go, and he's like, I will as soon as they can live on their own and they can be self-sufficient. And he's like, let them go. Bob Leslie does not quite do that. But he is trying to teach them. So he's trying to teach them how to fish, how to climb trees. Say tree, and they'll climb up a tree. Like, they're well-trained, but also kind of wild bears. He has them hibernate in the root cellar, which was smart. I called that. And he did. It worked well. And then they let him know that they were ready because he heard them making bear noises in there, so he let them out. So they live. They're very happy together. There's also this whole thing with a national park. The government has decided that the lake that the Indians live at is a great place to build a national park. There's apparently high demand for recreational locations, different activities, and that lake would be perfect. So they're going to move the Indians to a reservation, and they don't want to move. The chief is like, no, this is where we live. This is our place. And the Indians refuse to talk to the government. Honestly, I don't blame them. They have, it's their home. But the government's like, this is government land. We want it. They keep not talking to us, so we're just gonna come in and take it. rude. Like, yes, government land, but also it's their home and they were here first. So maybe just let them live. But they're not into that. So Bob Leslie is trying to find a peaceful solution and it's not going well. One thing that I'm not a huge fan of is that he refers to the Indians as you people. And I think that in 1974 that was not as offensive, rude sounding. But now when people say you people, it's a little rude. But other than that, they did pretty well with not being rude. So Bob Leslie's trying to find a solution. And he's like, why don't you make them all park rangers? And the guy's like, no, that would take years and years. It would take too long. It's impossible. So they're just going to be kicked off. They're going to be moved. Their houses are destroyed. They just kept the store. That's it. Oliver Redfern's store. There's also a lot more with the bears, but you can see it in the movie. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job summarizing. So Bob Leslie had said, make them park rangers. They said no. And then one of Bob Leslie's bears gets hurt. It gets shot. And his cabin gets burned down by that jerk guy who shot the bear's mom. I don't remember his name again because I don't like him. But he burns the cabin down and then it turns into a wildfire because there's trees around the cabin. It's in nature. There's brush. So the government, national people come and the Indians come and they work together to put out the fire. But Oliver helps Bob Leslie take the bear across the lake to the Indians' small settlement, forced settlement, because their houses were destroyed. So he takes him over there because he's like, yeah, I think I have some medicine, but nobody really has anything to help a bear because that's not a common issue that we encounter in society. So Bob Leslie's like, help. And the chief is like, no, leave the bear alone. It's better for it to die. And Bob Leslie's like, your son would have helped. Your son would want his brother, the bear, to be okay. And apparently that affects the chief enough that the chief says something. They don't have captions when they say something in their language, but sometimes they don't, like no one tells you what they've said, so it's a little mysterious. But this time the chief said something, and then two ladies come and start dragging the bear on the blanket that it's on. And Bob Leslie's like, what did he say? And Oliver tells him that he said to bring the bear to his teepee. That was nice. So they take the bear in there, and then the chief chews something and puts it on the bear's wound. It was pretty gross. And then he's like, here, feed him. And the bear doesn't want anything from the chief. He's like, okay, the bear wants to die. And Bob Leslie's like, no, he does not. So he scoops some onto his finger and has the bear lick it off. And the bear eats some. So bear wants to live. Then the chief is like, okay, we should leave him. And Bob Leslie's like, no, he needs me. And the chief left. Let him have it. So Bob Leslie stays with the bear, goes to sleep. Bear wakes him up. Bear's fine. Yay! But the chief is like, you have to let the bear go. He made him promise that before he saved the bear. So he takes the bear back. He's like, yeah, I will. But they couldn't find the other two bears. Their names were Scratch, Patch, and Rusty. A black bear with one white spot. And then Scratch was the itchy bear, and Rusty was like a brownish colored bear. So Scratch, Patch, and Rusty were the three bears. So he took the bear back. But they couldn't find the other bear friends because the fire had scared them away. Eventually, the other two bears found them. He's like, go to your friends. And the bear doesn't want to go. But eventually the bear goes. Yay. So then pretty much at that time, Oliver and the chief come back. But then his bear friend starts coming back towards him. And the chief is like, you didn't send them away. He's like, no, I did. I really did. But it makes sense. If the bear has bonded with him for a year, of course the bear is going to want to come back to him. So the chief gives him a rope and makes him like hit the bear away so that it'll go away. And that made me so sad. And I'm sure it made the bear so sad. But the bear went away. Hopefully, the bear will stay away from people and won't get shot. Also, the guy who set the fire and shot the bear, actually shot two different bears, like a year apart, will no longer be showing his face in that community. Don't know where he went, but he's gone. So, remember how earlier I'd mentioned that Bob Leslie had suggested they make the Indians park rangers, and they said no, they couldn't do that. Bob Leslie was interested in forestry, and he had ordered some books. He'd been reading about it. So I think that's part of why he thought about that, because that was something that interested him. Well, turns out that the people in charge of the national park must have thought about it, because they made all of the men in that tribe deputy park rangers. They just added the word deputy, and it was fine, because only park rangers and their families are allowed to live in a national park. So they made them deputy park rangers so they and their families can live in the park. And their job title is something like animal control, wildlife control, game ranger, something. And so we're like, what does that mean? It means that they can hunt and fish for their food only. And Bob is like, oh, so it's the same as before. And the chief says, no, better. Now we get paid. So it was funny. It was a happy solution. Sad because Bob doesn't have his bears, but I'm glad that he raised the bears to be self-sufficient so they can live and the Indians get to stay in their home. So it was really good. The end. Now, I wrote 2 quotes down that I kind of skipped. So I'm going to tell them to you because those were like the only notes that I took. Pretty impressive because I was invested in this movie. When Bob was going back and forth across the lake getting supplies for the bear cubs, and like that time that he took the bear cubs across the lake, he said, I'm going to wear a groove in the lake going back and forth from the store, which was funny because it's a lake. You can't really do that in water. And then when they were preparing for winter, he lives in a cabin. He needs to be warm. So he was chopping wood. So he said, I spent most of my time cutting logs. The cubs spent theirs cutting up. It was cute because the little bears were just rolling around in the snow and playing. And then eventually they hibernated. I enjoyed this movie. Daniel gave it a 7. He said, quote, the acting was barely okay. It was kind of like a Western where you're like, the storyline is more of what makes the movie. The acting's pretty bland. As usual, my favorite characters were the bears. The bears were cute. End quote. I give it a high rating because I liked it. I give it an 8.5. That might be a little generous, but like I liked it. I thought it was good. I was engaged. That is a lot of how I'm gauging my ratings. It's very different than movies I normally watch. It's kind of like a nature documentary merged with a family story and a group facing adversity and maybe a political statement. I only wrote down 2 quotes. That was it. I was super engaged with the movie. So I liked it. The Bears and I came out in 1974, rated G. They did cut out just a little bit to put it on Disney Plus. From Daniel's research, it sounds like when that guy shot the mother bear, they might have shown a little bit more of it in the original than they did on Disney Plus. Because on Disney Plus, all you see is 2 guys taking a bear across the lake in a boat. But we saw a screenshot that looked like the bear after it had been shot. So I don't mind that they took that out. I think it was just as impactful without seeing that and being sad. So overall, I liked it. And Daniel thought it was pretty good. Like it averaged, well, like a 7.75 between us. Pretty good movie. So thank you for listening. I will see you later. Bye.